This presentation takes you in detail through how to run a Courage Be Kind anti-bullying workshop. As with all Courage programs, there are 7 steps to ending bullying and realizing a courageously kind world. These steps include gaining insight into what bullying is, developing a vision for a courageously kind world, building our capacity for love and empathy, building our self-esteem and self-worth so that we can assertively address bullying, identifying partners who can help us achieve our vision, defining the values that will guide the delivery of our vision, and creating an action plan. This workshop will help you to understand the importance of building a kinder world where bullying is not tolerated at a personal or community level. Understand what bullying is, who is involved, why, when, and where it takes place in our communities. Develop a vision for a courageously kind world where bullying is eliminated. Exploring the concept of empathy and learning tools to improve empathy at an individual and community level. Developing assertiveness skills through building self-esteem, self-worth, personal identity, and embracing our inner superhero. Developing win-win partnerships to help address bullying in our communities. Identifying the values that will help us achieve our courageously kind world vision. And developing an action plan to ensure sustainable behavior change. The workshop can be run in 4 hours or broken up into 4 times 1 hour smaller sessions. The workshop starts by telling our own personal bullying stories, gaining insight into bullying, developing a courageously kind world vision. A short break is recommended at this stage, which is followed by an exercise exploring empathy, a self-esteem exercise, exploring assertiveness through a range of role-play exercises. Another short break is recommended at this time, which is followed by a partnership exercise, a values exercise, and we finish off with an action planning exercise. For details on how to break the workshop up into shorter sessions, please see the Courage Community website. Useful Courage tools for this workshop, which you can download from the Courage Community website, include this facilitator presentation with speaker notes, the Courage Be Kind video on our YouTube channel, and the Courage Be Kind workbook. As with all child protection challenges, bullying is driven by disempowerment, so the way to solve it is through personal and community empowerment. At Courage, we believe that empowerment is driven by 3 things. 1, our belief in possibility. 2, our level of self-awareness. And 3, our belief in love and abundance. When we are young, we believe we can do anything and be anything. We have a high belief in possibility, but low levels of self-awareness. We are unconsciously empowered. But sadly, people arrive in our lives and tell us that we can't achieve the things we want to because of our age or the color of our skin, or that we're a girl or a boy, or because of where we live. You get the picture. We lose our belief in possibility and we become unconsciously disempowered. The people who make us not believe in ourselves are the consciously disempowered. These people have a high level of self-awareness. They are often very clever, but they believe that there will never be enough for everyone in the world, and so they think that to get more for themselves, they will have to take it away from you. They believe in scarcity rather than abundance. And where we want to be is consciously empowered, where we have a high belief in possibility, high levels of self-awareness, and know that there is more than enough for everyone to live their best life. We build our self-awareness through understanding our values and beliefs, testing these through partnering with other people, and ensuring that we maintain our self-esteem and self-worth throughout our lives. We build our belief in possibility through having a vision or purpose for our lives, building on this daily through gaining knowledge and insight, and finally turning all of this into tangible actions every day. Finally, we build our belief in abundance by growing our love, care, and empathy for others and the world around us, and ensuring that everything we do is about bringing people together rather than pushing them apart. This is Courage's philosophy and process for solving all child protection challenges in a positive, proactive, and empowered way. Start your workshop with everyone sharing a personal bullying story. Bullying is something that has happened to all of us at some stage in our lives. You will use this template in the workbook to draw your personal bullying story, where you were either bullied, the bully, or a bystander. We won't ask you to share which, we just want to hear your story. Tell us exactly what happened. Use speech bubbles to share what was said. Draw how the different people were feeling. Then use your pen or hands to inflict the physical and emotional pain that was experienced in this bullying incident. Stab, slash, and crumple the page to express the hurt that was felt. Each participant should share their bullying story and how it impacted on them with the rest of the group. When everyone has shared their story, ask them to cross out the bad words and write good words in their place, like, "I'm sorry I hurt you," and "I think you are amazing." Tell your participants to smooth out the crinkles in the page, and whilst doing this, to send kind thoughts to every person involved. The lesson is that even though we have been through this trauma in the past, it can sometimes leave long-lasting emotional scars, as represented by the folds in your picture that can't be smoothed out. Even when we send love and say we are sorry, the scars can still remain for a long time afterwards. The first step in any courage process is to gain knowledge and insight into what we are trying to address, in this case the issue of bullying. We need to understand what it is, who is involved, and how we can stop or avoid it. It is important that everyone agrees what their definition of bullying is, so that no one can use the excuse of "we were just playing" or "I was just teasing." At Courage, we believe that bullying has three main features. Firstly, it is deliberate, which means that it is done on purpose. Secondly, it is usually repeated, which means that it is done more than once. And finally, it usually happens where there is unequal power or a power imbalance, where one person is stronger than the other, either physically or due to their age or their position of authority, and the other person is unable to defend themselves. There are different kinds of bullying. Verbal, where the bullying is done with words. Physical, where the bullying is done through actions. Relational, where the bullying is done through friendships or other relationship drivers. And cyberbullying, which is bullying that takes place on the internet, through social media, or whilst gaming. Verbal bullying, where the bullying is done with words, includes insulting someone, taunting them, being abusive, yelling at them, name-calling, threatening, telling lies about them that gets them into trouble, frightening or intimidating them, or laughing at them in a cruel way. Physical bullying, where the bullying is done through physical actions, include hitting, pushing, shoving, punching, biting, kicking, destroying a person's property, stealing their things, pushing in line, or forcibly taking something from them. Relational bullying, where the bullying is done through friendship or other relationship drivers, includes excluding someone, spreading rumors about them, humiliating them, stalking a person, rolling eyes at them, turning your back on them, turning a person's friends against them, prolonged staring, cruel teasing, or blackmailing them into doing something against their will. Cyberbullying, which is bullying that takes place on the internet, through social media, or whilst gaming, includes sending hurtful messages or hurtful pictures, posting compromising or even pornographic pictures online, encouraging them to self-harm, saying things like, "Why don't you just go and kill yourself?" Ghosting, which is ignoring someone online, harassing or trolling someone, which is provoking someone into an argument for a reaction, and using discriminatory or abusive language. Bullying is also more prevalent at certain times, such as when a person is smaller or more vulnerable. When a person is new to a place or a stage of life, such as going from junior to high school, or reaching puberty, where their bodies start to change noticeably. It can be because a person has a disability, which can be seen, as in the case of physical disabilities, or unseen, as in the case of deafness, learning disabilities, or neurodevelopmental disorders. Or it can be because a person looks or behaves differently. None of these examples of bullying are acceptable and should be stopped or addressed as soon as they are noticed. With bullying, the earlier you intervene to stop it, the better. It takes three kinds of people for bullying to take place: a bully, a victim or person who is being bullied, and a bystander. Let's understand each of these people better and what is happening in their world. The bully abuses power through domination and control. They don't follow rules, they have little to no empathy, and sometimes enjoy causing pain for others. They use violence to solve conflict. They are bad-tempered and aggressive. They see the world as a dangerous place, and they are often overly confident. In the long term, bullies often continue to struggle with controlling their emotions and aggression. They display antisocial behavior, which leads to a number of challenges, including drug and alcohol abuse, the inability to form meaningful connections and relationships, criminal behavior, depression, and even suicide. They are often responsible for creating the next generation of bullies. Most school shooters note how they were bullied terribly at school. The bullied victims are scared and afraid. They are often smaller, weaker, and more vulnerable. They have few friends. They lack self-confidence, are passive and anxious, submissive, and feel helpless. They often blame themselves for being bullied and end up withdrawing socially. The bystander watches and observes but does nothing. They can sometimes join in, but often just passively accept this bullying behavior. They sometimes encourage the bully by laughing, cheering, or making comments. Just by being there, they provide the bully with an audience. But when it comes to bullying, there is no such thing as neutral. You are either contributing to the problem by doing nothing, or you're contributing to a solution by intervening, standing up for the victim, getting help, or gathering evidence to share with someone who can help. Sometimes we are brought up with a belief system that makes us think it's okay to bully others. These belief systems include patriarchy, where men are believed to be superior and more important than women or children, often causing toxic masculinity. Fascism, nationalism, Nazism, or far-right political movements, which all support inequality, autocracy, and violent oppression of minorities. Racism, which is the prejudice and discrimination against people or groups of people on the basis of perceived racial or ethnic difference. Sexism, or sexual discrimination, which discriminates against people for their sex, sexual orientation, or identity. Religious and cultural intolerance, which discriminates against different religions or spiritual beliefs. Ableism, when people with disabilities are discriminated against or denied access and opportunities in favor of able-bodied individuals. Sometimes bullying behavior is condoned or even encouraged in different environments or worlds. These different worlds include on the internet or social media, whilst gaming online or playing a game of sport, or in certain institutional environments such as a student residence. The most concerning negative belief system is often learned from the people who are responsible for taking care of children, such as parents, guardians, teachers, and coaches. If they model bullying behavior to a child, the child is likely to think that this behavior is acceptable and will often repeat it amongst their peer groups, socially, in school, or even on the sports field. None of these belief systems are acceptable or healthy for individuals, communities, or society at large. When you search what is the opposite of bullying, there are many attributes that we can focus on, such as camaraderie, empathy, esteem, support, and solidarity. But all of these attributes can be summarized into 4 key themes. These themes show us how not to be a bully, or how to stop being a bully if you are one. The first is to start building a positive community around you that fosters support and togetherness. The next is to be a good citizen. When you have a choice, choose to do the right thing, always. You need to appreciate difference and diversity in others. And finally, you need to practice love, empathy, care, and kindness. In a world where you can be anything, choose to be kind. Now that we know what bullying is, it is important to create a vision for the kind of world we would like to create without it. In this exercise, we will create a vision statement for a courageously kind world. To create this vision, we need to ask ourselves 3 questions. The world would be a kinder place if, I or we will help create this world by, and when people see me or us, they will think. Capture your answer using this template or simply write them down on a piece of paper. Be sure to share your vision for a courageously kind world with your group or community. Love and compassion are the most powerful tools to solve conflict, and we develop this capacity through understanding empathy, affiliation, and care. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of others, whether happy or sad, pain or joy, suffering or abundance. Just as there are different belief sets that condone bullying, there are also belief sets that encourage empathy. In ancient Greece, agape fostered a love of humankind. In Africa, the belief system of Ubuntu, also called Bato, Unhu, Umuntu, Utu, and Kimuntu, speaks to a shared humanity. In Japan, Kiyosei is a philosophy for living and working together for the common good of mankind. In psychology, we talk about attachment, and in anthropology, we talk about kinship to explain our natural and biological desire to connect meaningfully with others. And most religions around the world speak of a golden rule, which is a principle of treating others as one wants to be treated, an ethic of reciprocity. The most important thing to remember is that empathy is a skill that can be taught and learnt. It is not a trait that we are born with. To be empathetic, we need to listen, understand, and connect with other people. To walk a mile in another person's shoes, to understand their world from their perspective. There are good and bad sides to empathy. On the one hand, it can be a force for good in the world. Our ability to mirror other people's feelings is at the core of our ability to help, heal, and care for others. However, sometimes we react very strongly to the emotions of people we identify with and blame people outside of our group or community for their pain or hurt. This us versus them side-taking in a group setting can lead to extreme violence against others, as seen historically with colonialism, genocide, and cultural or religious intolerance, and in the present day, movements such as the cancel or call-out culture. Sometimes, when we are exposed to high levels of suffering, we can experience empathic distress, where other people's emotions become ours and we are unable to identify or regulate our own emotions as a result. Empathy fatigue can lead to burnout, stress, and anxiety in some people, whilst others may become desensitized and actively disconnect or step away from the suffering of others. When we experience empathy fatigue, we can lash out at the very people we should be helping because we are exhausted by all the suffering we see around us. We focus on how we can protect ourselves as we are feeling pain, anger, and stress. We need to learn how to regulate ourselves by converting our empathy into compassion. When we feel compassion, we feel a sense of affiliation, care, and love. And as we know, the capacity to love is infinite. By converting our feelings of empathy to compassion, we build resilience for ourselves and other people in our care network. The good news is, research shows us that if you are an empathetic person, you will be less stressed, less depressed, happier in relationships, more successful at work, and more satisfied with your life. This is a useful exercise to think about empathy in the context of bullying. Ask your participants to think about how the different people in the bullying triangle feel. The bully may be feeling ashamed, angry, and scared. They may feel powerful but alone, and they may feel like they have no real friends. Now think about how the bullied victim feels. They may feel disempowered and unable to do anything, embarrassed, humiliated, and scared. Finally, think about how the bystander feels. They may be afraid for themselves. They may feel helpless, guilty, and sad. Now let's take away the labels. Can you see how when we take away the labels, each of the people involved can feel all the emotions we've discussed? You can also do this as a role-playing exercise, where everyone sits on a chair that represents the bully, the bullied, and the bystander. They should role-play a bullying experience and then talk about how they felt in each of their roles. Get your participants to switch chairs and roles, and then reenact another bullying experience, and again talk about how they felt in their new roles. Once each person has experienced each role, discuss how each of the feelings that they felt can be experienced by each of the individuals in the bullying triangle. Empathy starts with ourselves. Not only do we need to be kinder and more compassionate with ourselves, we also need to appreciate our own unique way of being in the world. This is about developing our own personal identity. Think about a world where everyone is exactly the same. Everyone would agree with everything you say, everyone would look the same, and no one would have different opinions. Is this a world that you would like to live in? The truth is, it would probably be quite boring. Having different people in the world makes our lives interesting and exciting, and gives us new ideas. So what makes you unique and different, and how do you make the world a more interesting place to live? It's important to spend some time thinking about this and even developing our own personal brand identity. A fun way to think about this is to create your own personal crest, just like the crests we see at our schools. You can use this template in your workbook. To create your own personal crest, start with selecting an animal that you think represents who you are and/or who you'd like to become. Then select a shield shape that speaks to you and your personality. Choose your favorite colors to bring your crest to life. And finally, create a personal motto or tagline that inspires you and the person you would like to become. Having a personal crest and motto is a really good way to clearly define who you are and what is important to you. Understanding the feelings of others and your own personal identity are a good place to start, but empathy and compassion should be practiced often to ensure that we stay resilient in the face of challenges. Some ways to practice empathy and compassion include: be kind to yourself. Think about something you've been struggling with recently and how you've been talking to yourself about it. Now think about how you would talk to a dear friend who is struggling with the same issue and how you would support them. Notice how we are often patient, generous, and forgiving with our friends, but harsh, critical, and blaming of ourselves. Try to be as compassionate with yourself as you are with those you care about. Be kind to others. When we are feeling tired, stressed, and overwhelmed, it's easy to cut ourselves off from the world as a self-preservation strategy, but the quickest way to re-energize yourself is to do something kind and compassionate for someone else. It doesn't need to be a big thing. It is the small acts of kindness, making a cup of tea, listening to someone, or sending a supportive message that often makes the biggest difference in other people's lives. These acts of kindness get us to focus on other people rather than ourselves. Try to see the world from someone else's perspective, especially someone you disagree with. You don't have to agree with them, but understanding what is motivating their behavior will help you have a far better relationship with them. Use all your technological interactions, especially on social media, as opportunities to foster love and connection, rather than anger and divisiveness. The more intentional you are about this, the more you can create a loving online community who will support you in your world. Notice the good in other people, creatures, and the world around you, and acknowledge it whenever you can. The more you focus on the good, the more this will become your reality and your lived experience of your world. Now that we understand what bullying is, the kind of world we would like to create, and how to practice empathy and compassion, we need to build our self-esteem and self-worth so that we can assertively address bullying in a positive and proactive way. To be assertive is to maintain your own self-esteem and personal identity whilst confidently engaging with other people around you. This is sometimes difficult to do when you are being harassed by an aggressive or passively aggressive person. These are some good tips to help you feel more assertive and empowered. If someone tries to bully or intimidate you, tell them clearly and assertively to stop. Express your feelings. Say if you're feeling unhappy or uncomfortable. If they know this, they can't pretend that they were just teasing or playing. Be confident about who you are and what you stand for. This is your personal identity, and you should never compromise on this. Respect other people and what makes them unique and different. Build a community of like-minded friends around you who you know will support and stand up for you. Protect yourself and your information. Be smart about where you hang out and who you share your contact details with. Defend your right to be who you are. This is the most fundamental and universal human right of all. Finally, embrace your inner superhero. There is a superhero hiding in each of us with unique talents and skills. Tap into these and show the world your superpowers. Let's spend some time thinking about what makes you special and unique. Think about this bowl as representing your own self-esteem or how you feel about yourself. Now think about all the things that people say to you that make you feel special and good about yourself. Perhaps you've been told that you are very beautiful, or that you are clever, or that you are caring. Your self-esteem bowl feels quite full now, doesn't it? Now think about all the things that people say to you that make you feel sad or unhappy about yourself. Perhaps they have commented negatively about your appearance, or made fun about your intellect, or how they feel about you. All of those lovely things that were put into your self-esteem bowl have now been taken out. The lesson is, if you allow other people to fill your self-esteem bowl, you also allow them to empty it. Spend some time thinking about all the things that make you special and unique, the things that no one can take out of your self-esteem bowl, because you know that they are true for you. Now write these things onto the circles in your workbook and place them in your self-esteem bowl. In this exercise, we're going to move beyond what makes you special and unique to what you see as your own superpowers. In your workbook, draw yourself as a superhero. Give yourself a superhero name that captures who you are. Describe your superhero skills. These are special talents and things that you've learned and that you'd like to share with the world. Then describe your superpowers. These are your unique behaviors or how you do what you do in a way that is uniquely you. Before we can address bullying in a positive and proactive way, we need to be clear about what makes us special, our personal identity, our skills and talents, and the unique way we bring all of this to the world. One way we can look at bullying is through transactional analysis, which tries to understand how we interact with each other socially. When we engage with each other, we can choose to do this in one of three ways. Aggressively, where we try to dominate or hurt the other person. Submissively, where we give in to the other person and allow them to dominate us. Or assertively, where we stand up for ourselves, but also respect each other's self-esteem. When we are aggressive, we tend to force the other person into a submissive role, which is not ideal. When we are submissive, we tend to endorse and allow the other person's aggression and domination. The ideal way to interact is to be assertive and to ensure that both our own and the other person's self-esteem remains intact throughout our interaction. We are now going to try a few role-playing exercises where we can explore aggressive, submissive, and then assertive approaches to dealing with bullying. In the first scenario, imagine a bully laughs at you and starts calling you names like loser and idiot. The aggressive way to respond is to shout names back at the bully like, "You are the idiot and no one likes you." The submissive way to respond is to get upset and start crying or look down at your feet and say nothing. The assertive way to respond is to calmly reflect their behavior back to them by saying, "That's pretty mean. Is everything okay with you?" In the second scenario, imagine a bully calls you useless on a sports field and tells you to move out of the way so they can take over. The aggressive way to respond is to shout back, "You are the useless one," and tell them to get lost. The submissive way to respond is to walk away and allow the bully to take over. The assertive way to respond is to not give way to them and to say, "Don't worry, I've got this." In the third scenario, imagine a bully steals something from you and laughingly says, "This is mine now." The aggressive way to respond is to attack the bully and try to get it back. The submissive way to respond is to shrug and say, "Okay," and let the bully take what they have stolen. The assertive way to respond is to hold on to the item and firmly say, "No, this is mine," or to tell the bully you are going to report the theft if they don't return your things. In the fourth scenario, imagine a bully pushes in line and shoves you out of the way. The aggressive way to respond is to shove them back and tell them, "You're an idiot." The submissive way to respond is to allow them to push in and say nothing. The assertive way to respond is to stand your ground and say, "There is no pushing in. Go to the back of the line." In the fifth scenario, imagine a bully shoves you and says, "Do you want to fight?" The aggressive way to respond is to say, "Sure," and then attack the bully. The submissive way to respond is to freeze and say nothing or run away. The assertive way to respond is to say, "I have no interest in fighting with you," and calmly walk away. In the sixth scenario, imagine a bully tells your friends if they want to be their friend, they can't play with you. The aggressive way to respond is to spread nasty rumors about the bully. The submissive way to respond is to go and sit on your own and leave your friends alone. The assertive way to respond is to speak to the bully and your friends about their behavior. Tell them, "I know what you're doing and it's not acceptable behavior." In the seventh scenario, imagine a bully posts an embarrassing picture that they took of you in the change rooms on a WhatsApp group. The aggressive way to respond is to attack the bully and try to smash their phone. The submissive way to respond is to ignore the post and what everyone is saying about it. The assertive way to respond is to tell the bully that you know they shared the picture, that you've taken a screenshot as proof, and that you will be reporting them to the authorities in your school, as this is illegal. In the eighth scenario, imagine a bully sees that you're unhappy and posts, "I wish you would go and commit suicide" on your social media page. The aggressive way to respond is to troll them on their social media page. The submissive way to respond is to ignore the post and just block them. The assertive way to respond is to ask them in person why they posted such a mean comment online. Tell them to remove the post, or you will take further action and report them. Each of these scenarios are good ways to practice how to respond to a bully, but sometimes we have a bad interaction with someone and we can't think of how to respond in the moment. If this happens to you, take a deep breath and assertively tell the bully, "I'm not prepared to talk to you at the moment," then calmly walk away. When you are able to, run through the scenario in your mind or with the help of a friend. Think through the aggressive, the submissive, and then the assertive way to respond. Practice the assertive way to respond so that you are prepared if this interaction should happen again. If you are able, proactively talk to the bully about what they said or did to you at a later stage in a calmer environment. Tell them how it made you feel and ask them why they thought it was appropriate for them to behave this way. The best way to have an assertive conversation is to reflect the aggressive or passively aggressive bully's behavior back to them in a calm way, to try and help them to reflect on why the interaction was so problematic for you. Most often, a bully behaves in an aggressive way because they believe that violence is the best way to solve conflict. We need to teach them that the most effective way to solve conflict is through love. We may not be able to change their behavior, but we can change how we respond to them, and this will teach them a new perspective. Now that we've defined what our courageously kind world will look like, we need to identify who we can partner with to help us achieve this vision. All relationships and partnerships are made up of more than one person. which means that there are more than one person's self-esteem to be aware of, in this case yours and your partner's. Imagine if you had a partnership with someone that was all about you. What would that look like? The relationship would be all about your self-esteem, but not about your partner's. You would decide what is important and what should happen in the relationship, with no regard for your partner's feelings or needs. It would be a very confrontational interaction, but most importantly, whilst you would be winning, your partner would be losing in every interaction. This is a win-lose partnership. Now imagine if the partnership was all about them. What would that look like? The relationship would be all about their self-esteem, but not about yours. They would decide what was important and what should happen in the relationship, with no regard for your feelings or needs. It would be a very submissive interaction, and your partner would be winning whilst you are losing. This is a lose-win partnership. How about if you both agreed to contribute 50-50 towards the partnership? Do you think this would work? The relationship would be about neither of your self-esteems, but rather about who does what and when and who is keeping score. We often think that a 50-50 relationship is a good thing, but it usually just ends up as a compromise. Neither partner wins, and because you are both compromising, both of you are losing out. This is a lose-lose partnership. Ideally, when we have a relationship with someone, it needs to be 100% from both sides, where we both give our best to make the relationship work. Both partners maintain their self-esteem and self-worth, and most importantly, both partners win. This is a win-win relationship. The first step in any partnership plan is to identify who you would like to partner with. These are people who you share similar values with and who believe in the same things you do. They should be people you trust and respect, and who trust and respect you. Importantly, you need to know that your partners will stand up for you in good times and in bad, such as when a bully is picking on you. Spend time thinking about all the people you do or would like to partner with moving forward, and write their names in your workbook. For each of the partnerships you identify, you should think about how to make them win-win for both of you. Try to define your shared vision and values, such as meaningful friendship and support. Then think about what you would like or need from the relationship. Finally, think about what your partner would like and need from you. For a relationship to be win-win, it is important that what you get is balanced by what you give. The final point to make about good partnership is that they can only be built on integrity. You cannot have a relationship with a person who lacks integrity or who lies to you. We are now at the stage where we need to define the values that will guide the delivery and achievement of our vision of a kinder world. Values drive all of our day-to-day actions and choices. Defining a vision is about what we want to achieve. Defining our values details how we are going to get there. Most people value some things, but not everyone values the same things. When trying to define what your values are, think about what you've learned from your family, your teachers, your religious or spiritual leaders, your boss or colleagues, your friends or sporting teammates. Each of these relationships will teach you about what you value and what is important to you. Then return to your vision of a courageously kind world and ask yourself, what will I or we need to believe in to achieve this vision? Try not to list too many values, as you can get lost if you have too many things to focus on. Just 3 to 5 beliefs that will help guide your day-to-day actions, choices, and ultimately the achievement of your vision. The final step in any courage process is to develop an action plan, or to agree what we are going to do differently, especially now that we have a new vision and values to support this. This is about focusing on the future and understanding how to plan for this today. As the picture illustrates, if you want to grow a tree, your first step is to plant a seed. To understand what actions we need to take, we can ask 3 simple questions. To achieve our vision of a courageously kind world, what do we need to stop doing? What do we need to start doing? And what do we need to continue doing, which are things we are already doing that support our vision? As an individual or group, think about all the lessons you have learned about bullying and how to address it in a positive and proactive way. Your vision for a courageously kind world, building empathy, what makes you special, who you think you should be partnering with, and your values. Then ask yourself, to make this happen, what do I or we need to start doing? What do I or we need to stop doing? And what do I or we need to continue doing? Sign your action plan and put a date on it to make sure that you follow through on building a courageously kind world. Thanks for watching. For more information, visit courage-community.com. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to our Courage channel. Stay strong and take courage.